grew the company from I think we were 700-800 people to more than 10,000 until the end of last year, to become the global streaming giant that it is today. And yeah, a lot of my time there, I was facing a lot of decisions, and it became somewhat of a passion of mine to make people decide fast, to move fast, and not just stand around. Now, and I thought, this might be a great opportunity to share a couple of things with you here. Good, but before we start with the content, I want you to tell me, what do you think? How many decisions did you already make today? So use your debate link and just type whatever number you think is the right number. Interesting. Okay, Jacob's aiming for the sky, 9,488. Sebastian 70, 10 plus. All right, I got a couple folks writing still. Let's see. It's interesting. What I see is the pattern that I see is either people go into the thousands or they go very low. Awesome. Angie's. Okay, there's some more answers coming in. 10 decisions. Ooh. Okay, this is super interesting because on average, we make 35,000 decisions a day, right? Most of them are unconscious. But it's 35,000 decisions we're making in a single day. It's insane if you think about it, because you're like, what the fuck? And when I look at some answers here, like Ellie's saying 10, Angie saying 12, you think you make like 12 conscious decisions, but there's so many more decisions we do. And I got really inspired by also to do this workshop by a video called Why Are We So Tired? By a guy called Johnny Harris. So after the session, make sure to check it out. And so there, this 35,000 number popped up as well. And the thing is, we're so tired because actually the number of decisions that we're taking are increasing pretty much every single day now. We have a massive digital overload because, yeah, we're in front of screens every day. Our workplaces have gotten more and more complex if you just compare it to what our parents or our grandparents were facing when they went to work in the morning. We have massive choice in whatever we do, right? Previously, if you wanted to go shopping, like for groceries, you went to the local market. Now you have like 5 supermarkets and 10 Spätis here in Berlin around the corner, and you don't even know where to go first. And then the other thing is, we have those things with us every day, or even the smartwatches. There's notifications and alerts that force us to make conscious decisions like, oh, do I read this? Do I read this? Not, and so on. And it just makes our brain slow, fuzzy, and ultimately this leads to decision fatigue, right? And decision fatigue is bad because we need to make those decisions, and we're being paid to make those decisions. So what I want to do with you today is that I want to share 4 frameworks, very, very simple frameworks that you can apply to your decision making to overcome decision fatigue, to be faster, and just give your day and your decision making a bit more structure. I want to learn from you how you have decided in the past, and maybe if you have applied some of these frameworks. And then I think this is going to be the funnest part. I want to do like a live decision making support session where you come on stage and tell me and the others about a decision you're facing, and we can try to solve it or help you make that decision today. Let's see. So without further ado, let's just dive into the 4 frameworks, right? So this is the lecture part of this workshop. Let me see if I can go on. Yes, here we go. The first one is called the OODA loop. This one is a really simple one. What is it? So this is a framework developed by John Boyd, a military strategist. And he needed a decision-making process designed for high-pressure environments where rapid decisions are necessary, right? How does it work? You can see it on screen. It has 4 very, very simple steps. 1, you observe. You gather real-time information from the environment. Like, for example, if you're a founder, you're assessing user feedback after product launch, like today's Jacob. So that's on you. Once, with the information you gathered, you go on to second step, orient. You analyze the information. You consider your previous experiences and biases. For example, the founders then compare the feedback with earlier product iterations, and they try to find patterns in user behaviors that they can use, to define a roadmap. And then you can already move on to the third step. You decide. You choose the best course of action based on the current information. Like, okay, let's pivot the product direction based on the data we saw. A famous example is actually Instagram. They started as a check-in app, but pivoted into the photo sharing platform based on early user feedback, and it became one of the most valuable startups ever, right? Okay, and then they got bought by Facebook. And then you act. You just implement the decision quickly and then repeat the loop as new information becomes available. So this is where the word ODA loop comes into place. Why does it work? This is a very simple structure, especially in our tech world, where the market conditions, both macro and micro, they change rapidly, and decisions must be made with incomplete information pretty much every single day. Often what happens is we run around like headless chicken when things happen. And this is just a very, very simple thing to keep in mind, like, okay, what's actually happening? Let me observe, let me gather the data, let me orient myself, and then you take a decision, right? So this is more like a reminder to just take a breather for a moment. I have a very cool example of how the ODA loop is being used, not in a time-critical way, but is translated more into like hardware development. SpaceX used the ODA framework pretty much for their Raptor engine development, right? They had a shitload of rocket failures early on, right? And after each launch, they quickly iterated based on the real-time feedback that they saw, like the explosions, obviously, but also, when certain engines of their Falcon boosters were not firing or not behaving correctly. And then within just 3 years, look at how much they have changed based on this iterative approach. Ooh, Jacob, somehow you want to leave the site. All right, there we go. They have improved that engine from version 1 over version 2 to Raptor 3, from a highly complex one that was prone to fail to a very simple machine that is now working beautifully and outperforming, any other rocket out there that we have. Really nice example of iterative improvements. Where this has been used, and let's say in a very technical way. Yeah. Now, the second one, this one I think all of you know, is the Eisenhower matrix, or some people call it also the urgent important matrix. One of my favorites. So what is it? This is an extremely simple and powerful prioritization tool that helps you decide and act on tasks based on urgency and importance. And yeah, as the name suggests, it is attributed to Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th president of the US, because he had to constantly make decisions under pressure, and his task list was probably longer than ours combined. How does it work? You basically create 4 quadrants. I have tried to paint it in better scenes, so please excuse my shitty handwriting here. And you classify tasks or decisions that you have to make based on urgency and importance. So let's start at the top right, UI, urgent and important. Those are tasks that you have to do now. For example, you discovered a critical security bug that could expose user data, or your conversion flow is down and you don't make any money anymore. So you better fix that immediately, because it really drags down your business today. Then if we move to the left, you have the not urgent and important quadrant. This is the type of stuff that you can schedule. Don't do it now, do it later, but do it. This is the classic example here is you do strategic planning, either for your company or for just the product version, something that doesn't need to be done today, right? Then if we move to the lower left-hand side, you have, to the lower right-hand side, you have the urgent and not important stuff. That is pretty much what you can delegate, which stuff that you shouldn't do yourself, right? Classic example is routine administrative tasks like scheduling meetings or so. And delegation, by the way, doesn't necessarily have to be from human to human, but also to tools, AI. Like scheduling is pretty much done these days by sharing your booking link, right? And yeah, then it's done. Boom. And then finally, my favorite one, that's Noonie. Not urgent, not important. You just eliminate those decisions. Take them away from your plate. Don't even think about it, right? Um, Classic example would be spending time with tweaking a logo or just the last things on your landing page so they look nicer. When obviously the product launch is more important. And I can't stress that enough because that is really an example that that is very dear to me. The amount of startups that I see spending time and effort on visuals when the core product's not ready is just staggering. And if they applied the matrix literally, they would quickly understand, doesn't matter if you move a pixel left or right. If the product is shit, the user is gone and all the work was for nothing. Sorry, excuse my language, by the way. I'm a non-native speaker, and yeah, in Germany we can say shit a lot. um, anyway, so what's a really good real-world example of the Eisenhower matrix? It's Jeff Bezos. So there's a twist to the story. Jeff Bezos is known for dividing or breaking down his decisions into two categories. Type 1 decisions, those are important and irreversible. They need a bit more deliberation. And type 2 decisions, those decisions are reversible and require speed. And for those type 2 decisions, he uses the Eisenhower matrix pretty much in his daily life to prioritize based on urgency and importance, allowing for quick action and non-critical decisions while reserving time for the more significant ones, right? And to be frank, I use this matrix in my everyday life, both privately and in my job, because the to-do list, it just gets longer and longer and things I have to decide or do. And it just helps me bucketing things really quickly with more structure than just a simple Kanban board. Because yeah, that would just have me look at everything with the same priority, so to say. Yeah, so really powerful, really simple. And there's like a lot of tools out there that you can use to make this work. I used Google Keeps, for example, for a very long time to just basically create a post-it for every single to-do that I had. And I was tracking it from there. Or you can use Miro or any other organizational tool that you want to use or have access to. Good. Then we have to talk about Jeff Bezos again. Sorry. It's the 70% rule. That's an interesting one. So this glass is 70% full. I asked AI to create me an image of a 70% full glass. I think it's maybe 80 even, or not, 85. Anyway, so what is the 70% rule? Jeff Bezos advocates for making decisions with around 70% of the necessary information rather than waiting for just 100%. And the cost of delay often outweighs the benefits of perfect information. And, you know, as simple as this sounds, it is mind-blowing, absolutely freaking mind-blowing to see 95% of companies out there, 90% and 5% of decision makers, of leaders waiting for the 100% information because they're scared of making that like a decision, right? And I can give you some good examples in a bit, but how does this work? Again, super freaking simple. I told you, this is not a scientific workshop today. This is just giving you something that you can apply in real life every single day. You gather information until you think you have around 70%, or I would translate it to, it's enough for me to take an educated guess. You make that decision, you act on it, and you embrace that you don't know everything. You know, put a caveat on everything. Like, guys, I'm sure like this, like we don't know everything, but I know A, B, and C. I wish I would know D, E, and F, but I can't. Let's just do it. It won't ruin the company, right? And then launch it. And then you iterate quickly. That's the beauty of it, right? And the famous example that Jeff Bezos, tells us all about is Amazon Prime. He launched Prime in 2005 with a very, very limited understanding of how it would actually impact customers and costs. And, they were looking left and right, but he's like, screw it. I have enough data for now to take a decision. So let's launch it. And then we iterate the service as the feedback came in. And then over time, it became this massive, massive line of business in itself with 200 million subscribers worldwide. And it's not just a line of business, but it's also a massive glue for the overall Amazon e-commerce space, right? So, if he had just waited another year or two, maybe a competitor would have come in and launched a similar thing. And he might still have not had that type of information, right? I have a really good example from Spotify, where I use the 70% rule myself. So it's going to be a bit technical. First of all, I hope all of you use Spotify. If not, we have to talk. So what's the setup? Spotify is a free product, right? If you download it and want to listen to music, it's free. But obviously, they want you to pay for a subscription. And if you get that subscription, normally you would get a 1 month free trial. That's enough, to get you hooked, yada, yada, yada. But what we have learned at Spotify is over time that, with a 3 months free offer instead of a 1 month free offer, this is like such a good offer that you can't deny, just like at The Godfather, that we got in like millions of users within just a couple of weeks. And so we went back to the labels, we negotiated with them that we have 12 out of the 52 weeks in a year, where we can get basically hand out these 3 months trials instead of 1 month trials, because they performed very well, retention was amazing. And they gave us those 12 weeks. And what Spotify did, we separated this into 2 times 6 weeks. So for years, we were running a 6-week, 3 months free campaign during the Christmas time when you get your statistics, your year in review, and a lot of people get their new phones. And then one campaign that we called mid-year, around May, late May-ish, with the other 6 weeks, just scoop up the free MAU that we had and make them into paid users. We had a very, very, very smart analyst called Sam, and she's like, Sven, why the hell do we do 2 times 6 weeks when, for example, the Christmas campaign is 4 weeks long? Like, doesn't make sense. And for all the marketeers on the chat, we all know that there's a decay in efficiency, right? You launch a campaign, there's usually a big splash somewhere, and then the efficiency just goes down over time. Why don't we do 3 times 4 weeks? Thing is, we couldn't really test this, right? Because we had those licensing constraints, yada, yada, yada. So we ran a very limited test that we didn't talk or tell the labels about. We had a bit of data. It looked good. And I created a business case around this. Went to my manager back then. I said, look, can we do 3 times 4 weeks instead of 2 times 6? And they're like, We need to test run this. We need to analyze more. I said, no, we will lose another year. The data indicates that we can have 15 to 20% more subscriber intake within the same amount of time if we split it to 3 times 4. Fortunately enough, they believed me. We launched it, and here we go. 3 times 4 is here to stay. We delivered actually 20% more subscribers now for the last 3 years that we had this set up. And it was a nice case of just showing okay, we could have analyzed this to death because at Spotify, we always did this. But this was a case where I had the balls in a way to just say, okay, screw it. We won't know any better. This is one of the few things that actually showed such a significant uplift. We have to try it. And when you're a company of the size of Spotify, this is the type of uplift you kill your grandmother for, right? Usually you optimize a percentage point here, half a percentage point there. But ultimately, okay, let's just go for it. And it worked out. Yeah. Had it not worked out, we could have always reverted, right? Good. And now to the final framework that I want to give you, the 10-10-10. That's an easy one, like all the other ones. So what is the 10-10-10 about? This is a framework developed by Susie Welch. Susie Welch is a very famous American businesswoman. And she says, look, we need a framework to make us think about decisions and not make rash decisions or emotionally driven ones. So let's break our decisions down into 3 different horizons. First horizon is, how do you feel about your decision in 10 seconds? What impact does it have on you? Or in 10 minutes? Sorry, guys, my laptop is acting up. 1 second. Boom, here we go. Um, Second step is consider how this decision will impact you in 10 months. So that would be the midterm consequences. And then step three would be the 10-year impact. So the long-term consequences and alignment with your life or career goals. And why does this work is why does it work? It's really simple. It helps you mitigate those impulsive decisions by forcing you to think like about along those three horizons without losing sight of the immediate consequences. And um, I'm using this a lot myself, often unconsciously. Um, but I have two examples for you today where I use this very consciously. Number one is I use this pretty much in every career talk that I have with any of my team members, or when they come up with a specific situation. So when they come to me and they're like, Sven, I have an offer at company X and I'm thinking about leaving. I'm like, okay, let's break this down. Um, how would you think about this? Like, how does this impact you? Like now, if you take the decision to leave, would you feel a relief or not leaving me at Spotify or like our team, wherever I work right now? Um, and what does it bring you over the next couple of months, next 2, 3 years in your career? Does it bring you any further or not? And then like, by leaving me and going for this other opportunity, what does this mean for your career, for your life, where you want to be, right? And I actually internally, I use this the other way around. I'm like, okay, do I want to fight for this person? Like if they leave now, what is the short-term impact? Okay, I have to replace that person. Um, what will happen in the next 5, 6 months? Like, okay, there's going to be like some sand in the gearbox, but we might survive without that person. And the 10-year impact would be like, you know what? I can like the person was good, but there's 10 others around there. Once we have someone in there and maybe we find a better one, we'll be better off. So I will not fight for this person to stay. I'd rather help them to leave easily, right? So another way of using this framework proactively. Another time where we used this was when Spotify had to leave Russia after Russia attacked the Ukraine back in 2022. Um, so when all of this happened, there was pretty much like this massive, outburst of, people demanding that all companies leave Russia immediately. And while I understand the emotional reasons behind this, there are other reasons, like there are other things you need to think about as a business, right? And the most important of them being like not all the Russians wanted the war. So we were really forced to think both short, mid, and long term here, right? And we applied basically a version of the 10-10-10 in our decision making on whether we should leave or stay in Russia with our business, right? So the 10-minute short-term impact was like, okay, we actually got death threats to our Spotify employees in Moscow because they were openly against the war. And then some hardliners were like, oh, those Western streaming media liars, da, 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 let's kill them. Like this stuff happened. So we had to pull the people out. There was like serious safety concerns. What was the like intermediate concern? Like, okay, is the business performance. Russia was one of our most successful launches of all time. We would be losing millions of subscribers. People loved our product. Music is something that gives people hope, and like it's a nice thing in people's daily life. Like, what if we pull out? Like, it's going to impact them, not just us on the business side. But then also the 10-year horizon is like we have to think about the reputation, right? There was no talks about sanctions yet whatsoever. It was more about like, are we standing on the right side of history here? What is everyone else doing? What is the right thing to do? And really, this helped us making the right decision at the time. And then, as painful as it was, Spotify left Russia. Not just because we wanted to, but then also ultimately because there were sanctions, and as a media company, we were forced out of the country. But yeah, especially in the early days of that invasion, it was a very interesting exercise to not just do rush things, because it was a very imprecise situation, and you needed to look left and right to see what is really happening and how can this impact our company. So that's it. 4 frameworks: OODA framework, the Eisenhower matrix, the 70% rule, and 10-10-10 that I use in one way or another pretty much every day in my life to drive towards decisions. And what I want to do now, and this is where it becomes fun, I want to do a quick 10-minute round the table sharing of some of your past decisions And what I want to learn is, what was the decision that you had to make? What frameworks did you use, and did you use them consciously or unconsciously, now that you have learned about those? Or use any other ones? I'd be happy to learn about more of them. And yeah, if you feel comfortable, then also sharing the outcome of this. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use butter scenes again. Um, I want you to write like a decision you have taken, and then I will call you on stage based on what I'm seeing here. And then yeah, I'd love to hear from y'all how what the type of decisions you have made. It's gonna be interesting. Let's see. Oh, Jacob, you're going in for the big one. Nice. I'm gonna stay quiet until I see some more. I see people are texting, so that's good. You know what, Carol, you are the first one that is not from Bata or me um, to share a decision. Carol, would you mind unmuting yourself and tell us about your decision regarding your next role, as your interim contract is ending right now?
Yes. Yeah. So yes, I'm doing a contract that ends in February. So I've just started to think about what to do next. And I kind of been weighing this up for about a year, whether to set up as I work in HR, so whether to set up my own fractional HR business or whether to go into another permanent role. So I think I use the 10-10-10 kind of framework, not consciously though, but because the decision is very much like it's quite scary in the next year, because I don't know if how much work I'm going to get in, and is it like financially secure? What does that look like? So there's a lot of uncertainty in the like short term, but then I try to really think about actually what does this mean in the long, let's forget about that. What does it mean longer term for my career? What does that look like? It gives me hopefully more flexibility and the ability to kind of earn more. So I really tried to think long and short term about it, and weigh up the options.
And are you happy with the decision?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I'll tell you in a year. Yeah, I am going to set up a fractional business, because I kind of thinking about that long term really helped to think, what I wanted to do in the future, and kind of not worry so much short term, and then work out, right, that, create some uncertainty in the short term, but I can work around that.
Yeah. And if things don't work out as you plan, you can always pivot, right? That's the most important
Yeah.
thing, to not just stay stuck on something unless you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Awesome. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing, Carol. I see a lot more coming in here right now. I find Lucas's very interesting, and I see also some reaction on this. Lucas C, the live streaming platform. Would you mind telling us about this? This is super interesting.
Hi, Sven. Yeah, sorry for my coarse voice. 6 a.m. here. Just woke up. So yeah, I was in Berlin. Used to have a live streaming platform. That's how I met Jacob also. And we were not getting the data. We were not getting the performance that we wanted. We were running low on the runway, and we had one last chance to pivot, let's say, before needing to go fundraising. And we were seeing a lot of early success from Clubhouse in the West Coast here in the US. This was, mind you, this was in the middle of pandemic. And we were, I think, a little desperate for a new idea. And so with the information that we had, we decided to pivot into something similar to that, audio-only platform, but then change into something a little bit different. But I think in that moment, we should have used a little bit better the 10-10-10, because we never had an idea of what it would look like in 10 years from now. And I think in business, that's very important to have a vision that really drives you forward. I think we had clarity on the next 10 months, but not the next 10 years. So yeah, learning curve there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And thanks for waking up so early and listening to a random German on Zoom. This is awesome. Appreciate that. Mansi, I'm not going to call you up on stage now because this is a decision maybe we want to discuss live in our support section after this. Let me see who else. Oh, Rudy, I liked your one. Feature prioritization for your email client. It sounds like you are in a constant decision-making process here. Rudy, can you possibly tell us like how you guys are currently deciding, or if you're using any of those frameworks? And what's interesting for me, because I love email clients, is what are the areas that you decided against? That would be interesting to understand.
Yeah, sure. So we are more like struggling to make the decisions in regards to which direction should we implement, ship new features. So like there are many different kinds of users that we want to support, like the many different kinds of mail servers out there. There's Microsoft 365, there's Proton Mail, this and that. So like there's like we could either focus on being more inclusive towards like having like users from all different kinds of platforms and ecosystems, and we could either focus on building more powerful features for our existing like Google Workspace related users. So that's one direction where we really struggle making decisions on.
Awesome, thank you. Then I have one that strikes a very personal note with me. Ready, deciding on which company to join, where one had amazing comp but shitty values, and company two was so comp, but you were much closer to the values. Tell me about your decision. I'd love to hear about that.
Hi, hello. All right, so this was during pandemic, so a few years ago, and I was deciding between the two, the two companies. The other one, the first company, have a promising future because they have global plans. They plan to expand, and the role will bring me to different places or different types of projects. But then they said something that didn't sit well with me, and it's more of something about in the goal of making more money. They have to step on some small medium businesses because during the pandemic, the small medium businesses they sort of boom in offering some products, and they said that they have to take the profit away from these groups. So I didn't like it. I wasn't comfortable with the idea that this is the value, these are the goals, the actual goals that they have. So I think I use the 10-10-10 approach. I just know that even if I join this company, even if they offer a lot of money and the opportunity looks great, I would feel bad being part of this kind of vision or goal in the next few months. So that's it.
Thanks for sharing, Reddy. And this has nothing to do with decision making, but well, actually it has. I was forced to make exactly that decision 4 months ago when I decided to leave the company that I just joined, where exactly those factors that you just mentioned became apparent more and more day by day that I was in that company. And just 4 months into the company, I decided to leave, and I consciously applied the 10-10-10. Because I wish I could have just quit immediately, but there were a couple of other considerations to make, and this really helped me to not do this, on the spot, but wait it out and not be emotional about things. And yeah, the reason why I said it has nothing to do with decision making is always choose the company where you feel better, as long as you can afford it money wise, because nothing is better than sleeping well after your work day. Good. Looking at the time, let's get to the experimental part of this. And, first and foremost, thanks for sharing this so far. I want to now go to our live support session. And, the reason why I wanted to do this is I got inspired by a YouTube series called Twitter support, tech support from Wired. If you don't know about this is super cool. This is where they invite experts to answer questions that people wield in the internet. Could be about the wild west, it could be about linguistics, it could be about the space race, and it's just really cool. I was like, okay, why don't we do a decision-making live support where if you feel comfortable sharing, you can come up on stage and tell us about a decision you're currently facing, where you have not made a decision yet. And yeah, you might want to have some support, or we can look at how we can use some of the frameworks we talked about today, and help you get to a decision faster, so that you don't ponder about it for another 5 years. And to make this a bit more tangible for you, those who share something with me today, they will get 3 months free of Butter Scenes once it's live and the subscription and everything is up. So thanks, Jacob, for allowing me to offer this little cookie to everyone, and just to make it easier to share. Yeah. And we're doing it in the same format like we just did. Just shout it out here and I'll call you up on stage. Let's see what you got. I'm really, really interested. Ooh, okay. 2 people are writing. Yeah, this is much harder now. Awesome. While everyone else is still writing, Mansi, I promised you to put you on stage. Tell us about your decision, Dubai or Sweden.
Well, the story goes like I've been recently married, and my husband switched countries to kind of come to my home country and, marry. But now, after it's been 2 years, and he's kind of having deja vu with with the economy he's flown in from, which was Sweden. So we've been kind of discussing which one to go for, because he favors Sweden, being there in the system, working with the Swedish folks. He feels they're at home, and I kind of relate more with the Middle Eastern culture, having adapted their art forms, etc., been to Dubai, etc. So a lot of contemplation has been going on. I haven't used any of the decision-making frameworks as of now, though I'm aware, being a seasoned L&D specialist, I'm aware of those frameworks. But in this particular situation, because this is more like a personal life decision, so I haven't really used any framework, and we're still contemplating, like we are calculating per capita spend, the economy, the government policies, etc., and comparing almost on a daily basis. And this is a classic example of decision fatigue. And I think 3 days before only, I just told him, let's just make a decision, for God's sake. So yeah.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, as soon as it comes to personal life, we seem to be getting, or like facing the fatigue very quickly, right? Because we don't want to do anything wrong, and especially when we're emotionally attached to the person, or like that is also affected by the decisions. I mean, we've mentioned it a couple of times, but the 10-10-10 works really well for like those lifetime decisions. And what I do, Mansi, usually is, unless one of the 2 short-term options is really a crass no, we cannot do this, I prefer to look at the long-term horizon and say, okay, moving to country X or Y, so moving to Sweden or staying in Dubai, which one will have the longer term positive impact on you as a family, as a person, and look at that. That basically allows you to just focus on one horizon instead of the other two, and that might lead you to a quicker decision, even by using that. So the typical short-term pieces would be just like you said. Okay, Sweden is more expensive. You pay a shitload of taxes. Capital gains taxes are high. RSUs are not that well taxed. But so yeah, you have some financial downsides maybe, but you can survive. So I'd assume, okay, let's just put this aside. Midterm, feeling welcome, settling in over the next 2-3 years, especially for you as a person who is not native to Sweden. Again, just looking from the outside, since you have a person who seems to be loving Sweden and be connected in Sweden, I'd say, hey, the midterm piece is something you can work on, and there's definitely not a strict no. So there's really then something where I'd be looking at only the long-term piece for now, and just take out those parameters from the short and midterm, and then maybe tonight you can decide.
We've actually worked on unconsciously use this 10-10-10 principle and kind of worked up with the list, but the list weighs heavy on both the sides. So that's the status as of now. And yeah, we've not, currently not been able to reach a decision despite having this list at our disposal.
Okay, thanks for sharing, Mansi. Really, really interesting. Let's see, what else do we have? Corey, I think I like yours as well, like whether to go down one all access product or to keep a collection of offers. Can you tell us a bit more about this decision, more context, please?
Sure. Hi. So we have traditionally done a bunch of different products, and most of them come from specific client projects that we've done. We take that work and then we turn it into a product, and then we sell it individually. So now we've got this basket of products that solve a bunch of different related problems, but individually, it's just not cohesive the way it is right now. So our choice is either we have to create a bunch of products to fill in the holes, and by product I mean courses, workshops, workbooks, things like that teach people what we do.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
There's so many things that we've created and sold, I mean, to the tune of maybe 50 or 60 things. And so the question is, do we just create one all access pass, or do we continue to sort of create these things, launch them maybe once or twice? Sometimes we'll relaunch them a year later. So it's just a little bit chaotic and it's confusing to our market. But we feel like if we do an all access, we're giving away the farm, so to speak, because we couldn't price it. The market value.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Corey, this is one of those things I can't solve on the call, where I wish I could just help you say, do this. But this is a classic case, I would guess, for like a 70% type of situation, where I am sure within the company, you have gathered information one way or another. You've experimented with packaging, probably, where you created bundles of sorts, right?
Yep.
And you must have leaders in the company, if you are the decision maker, who then has to take an educated guess, right? This is what the 70% discussion comes down to. Now, the question is this a type 1 or like a type 1 or type 2 decision, if we use the Jeff Bezos analogy again? If you were to bundle this now, is this something reversible or irreversible, right? Because if it is reversible,
yeah, we could unbundle them later, and then the work that goes into unbundling them.
Because like this is one of those things. If it's reversible, I'd say, okay, you decide for either option, right? And then you commit to it for whatever is a good time frame for you to have it as somewhat stable, right? Let's say 12 months, 24 months, because from what I understand is you wouldn't lose your business and you wouldn't tank it immediately. And especially if you have a belief for either route, that's something to go for. Classic 70% thing. You will never know the perfect answer just by analyzing things.
I think you're almost
just
giving me permission. I think you're almost giving me permission to do that. One of the big things that is driving it is that 90% of our buyers are repeat buyers. So we're feeling like if we combine them, we're almost cannibalizing. There's some people that no matter how many things we put out, they will buy everything. But if we put it as an all access pass, we're robbing ourselves of those repeat purchases from those people. That's kind of a big one, but I think you're giving me permission.
Let's do the following, Corey. I'll give you another cookie. Like, contact me after this one, and we can have a one-on-one session on this, because packaging and like looking at what to offer to the market is something I love to do, and I dive into it pretty much every company I work with. Especially if it's subscription based. So let's just talk offline. This it's complex. I want to give you permission because I have no skin in the game. I'm just giving you permission to decide. It just feels like you just got to decide at some point. But let's talk. I like this.
I will take
This is
you
an
up on
interesting
that.
one. Yeah,
I will
awesome.
take you up on that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. We have two more maybe. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's Carolina, depending on where you're from. You want to tell us about your probation period challenge?
Yeah, hi, how are you? It's Carolina. I am from Argentina, but I'm living in Berlin right now.
Hi.
Hi. Yes, I mean, for me, it was like a week ago. They have told me like I have to improve in the next 3 months, or maybe I'm out of the company. And at the same time, a couple of months ago, I'm starting like to think maybe I want a role more related to management or facilitator or something like that. So it's like now I don't see if I also kind of start thinking that maybe this is an opportunity to have and put all my energy on the thing that I was planning. But at the same time, I need safety and I need a job. So it's like, what should I do? Should I put all my energy and focus on starting this kind of new role that I want to? Or should I put all the effort on working in this company because I really love the company? So it's like for me this last week, and it looks like kind of not magic because it's too much, but I found this event like just a few minutes ago, and now like this is the topic that you're talking about, and it makes me think like, okay, maybe I should concentrate on the other thing that I was planning a couple of months ago and just start doing right away now. But yes, it's like too many questions and zero answers for me right now. And I wanted to share it.
Interesting. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to make a couple of assumptions, Carolina, because you said you live in Berlin. Framework-wise, let's just look at UDA here, right? This seems like something where you need to gather a lot of information, compress them into something that allows you to make the decision, and you act on it. My assumption would be that you can fail. You live in Germany, right? Even if you lose that job, you can have Bürgergeld, or you can, there's a safety net. If you feel comfortable with using that safety net, I would go all in on telling the company, like, this is what I want to do. I love you guys, like you just said. And I know that I wasn't the best in my, let's say, IC role, but I am pretty sure I can do this and that. Maybe they give you the opportunity. If not, and they let you go, you at least have tried and you have done something that, that is something you really want to do. And you went, for what motivates you. And then you can take the time off to find something else. And, in Berlin, we need a lot of UX designers. So please ping me after this call as well. I can, let's see if we can get you somewhere, or we can talk about this. And I'm really, like I said, there's a lot of assumptions here, and this is me speaking as a German, knowing the German labor market and how things should go. But this is really, yeah, I'd say this is, as long as you feel confident with using the safety net, I'd go, it's like from what you said, I observed, I compressed information. I would decide with this route, and then you act on it. You tell them, and if that doesn't work out, you start again and you look left and right. So this is then where the loop element comes in. All right. I'm getting a
Yes, thank
stern
you.
warning from Jacob that I'm running out of time, so it was only one more. But let's do the following, because I really appreciate that you all put your decisions up here, and I couldn't call all of you up on stage. Everyone who has their story up here will get a voucher from Jacob and me for Butter Scenes Pro once it's live. So I just took a screenshot, but and you get my email after this as well. Ping me after the chat. So to wrap up, everyone, what were the 4 frameworks that I was talking about today? It was the OODA loop. It was the Eisenhower matrix. Sorry, the OODA loop is, repetitive decision making. Eisenhower matrix is mostly for prioritization based on importance and urgency. The 70% rule, it helps us to take decisions and embrace the unknown. And 10-10-10 helps us prioritize along certain time frames, right? I really hope that this was helpful for you, not just in a sense of learning some frameworks that you can, plug in your brain and help you to decide faster and more consistently, but also helps you reflect on how you take decisions going forward. So all I can say is thanks for sharing all of your decisions that you have done already or that you're facing right now. And I'd say, let's go, let's decide as fast as possible for whatever's coming. Thanks for having me. And please ping me. You have my email address here. Find me on LinkedIn, especially Carolina and was it Corey on your business idea. And then we can have a chat.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Sven. This was this was quite revelatory, and I'm super excited for the depths you went in. And I'm also excited for the depth that you guys went in and sharing. Like that's what makes sessions like this and creates the content and most of all, like that level of vulnerability is amazing to see. And it actually also fills me with quite a bit of joy and also willingness to share and be vulnerable. So thanks. A few more things to upcoming. So I'm gonna say thank you, Sven. First thing, product hunt, if you haven't already, please support us. It means a ton. We're launching scenes today. You can also sign up and start using scenes and making amazingly interactive presentations like you just saw Sven create here on Butter Us already today. So go in and sign up if you haven't already. We've got 2 upcoming sessions now, and I've just posted the links here. First, 10 lessons to make your life as a facilitation biz owner enjoyable. Really cool session, amazing speaker. I know that you'll love her. And then another one by, and that's by the way by Kirsty Lewis. And then we got Cultivating Productive Conflict by Carl Martin coming up as well. Carl's been one of our alpha users on Scenes, and I've seen what he's been bringing up, and he's really using it very well. So so that's also very exciting if you guys have that time. So without further ado, thanks again so much, guys, and have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Yeah.
Thank you again, and thanks for having me, Jacob.
Yeah,
Speak soon,
thanks for being
everyone.
part of this.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Sven and Jacob. Bye-bye.
Bye.